Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Jude. Hey, beautiful Jude. I didn't even do my intro or anything. Sorry. I've been running around all day and I was going to come on here last night and I fell asleep. I'm wore out. I hope you're doing okay. I hope everybody is doing okay. Hey, beautiful Jude. And your hearts and your monkeys. So I hope everybody's doing good today. Hey, Dee. Hey, Chink Brown. Hello, number 2. Hello, Guidance. Lolly, my beautifully broken. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Dreamer. Hello, Marvelous. Hello, hello. Hello, welcome in. You know, I thought it was going to be a hot day. It started out hot here, and then it's chilly now. So I actually did turn a little bit of heat on, and I got my fan on, and now I'm cold again. Anyway, whatever. Kendra, Jean Ann, Tishy, hello, Show Poodles, Peggy, Cindy, hello, hello, hello. Is 27 there? Paula, Bulldog Mama. It actually, and Tam here. Tam, you know you're teasing me with that name. I'm just kidding. Now, you know I'm going to have to crack a joke with you every time with that, right? Car guy, hello, 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 waving back at you. Waving back. Oh my goodness. Tam here is never going to get out of that. Opal, hello, hello. Just breathe, Joyce. Ooh, I love to see Joyce in here. I love that name. It makes me think, just breathe. Just breathe. I'm going to try to just breathe. I'm going to try. Oh my goodness. Love wins. Love always wins. I love looking at y'all's names too. Nerdy girl, hello, hello. Hello. We're definitely going to play every time you see Tam here, you laugh. Yeah, actually, I do. I can't help it. Ashley Green, hello, hello. I am so glad you're all here. His eyes. Busy Mama, hello. Paula, hello, hello. Hello, hello. 1979, hello. Star. You know what? I love saying hello, seeing you all come in and saying hello, Donna 66 and everybody, instead of when I'm in other chats. And if I'm a mod, I'm trying to say hello, hello. And I'm missing everybody because their chats are going so fast and I'm so slow. Just know when I'm somewhere else, if I don't catch you all, honey, I ain't fast at that. I am no good at that. I ain't good at it. Susan Elizabeth, hello. Hello, hello. We're going to watch all of Nina's, her story as she lived it today. Marley, hello, hello. Good to see you all. But there was something else fascinating that I saw on Twitter just a few minutes ago. I don't know. I wasn't going to pull it up, but I got to thinking, something hit me. And if you're in Nashville, or if you were a long-time Nashvilleian, like I was born and raised there, I know Hey Jude was, she'll know what I'm talking about. It hit me and I thought, And because I kind of been looking kind of different ways and things about Green Hoodie and stuff like that. Hey, Barbara O'Neill. Good to see you, honey. Love you. And I know Barbara's been a long time. She'll know what I'm talking about. I thought, well, I'm going to kind of talk about this a minute. And I don't mean to talk in circles or whatever, but okay, so I looked on Twitter just a minute ago, and Melanie had put out something about the green hoodie right here. And I'm just going to read it to you. It says, Justice for Sebastian Rogers, looking, and it don't make anything true, okay? It don't. It's just everybody's theories and opinions, okay? But it got me thinking about one word or one place or something she said, okay? It says, looking at the bottom letters of the hoodie, she saw, I saw letters NASA. Look above the letters N, which N would be under there. Y'all may can see it. I don't know, but anyway. I saw the letter N. I saw what, I can't see all of it because some of it's cut off, seems to be an astronaut symbol. Now that's her, not me or anything. I don't know because that's cut off much about TB, but I do know, again, it's cut off, I guess they're saying as a technical instructor this is what caught my attention, at the Nashville Auto Diesel College. Now, this is what I'm talking about. You Nashvillians will know about. Honey, that caught me. This is why I'm reading this, and I'm going to go a little bit into this first, because the Nashville Auto Diesel College, yes, NADC, has been around since I was a little bitty girl, honey. That's what stuck out to me. Not even the hoodie, not even this. When they mentioned that, I went, oop, oop. I went, back up. Yes, it's on Gallatin Road, honey. So never mind all this. Y'all can go read that at Twitter because it's cut off. I can't see it and all that kind of stuff. So just to give y'all a little information and where I'm kind of going with this is this. So evidently now, okay, somebody's trying to share something with me, but I'll look at it in a minute. I don't even know if they're in here now or they're just trying to share. Evidently, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because I hadn't thought about the Nashville Diesel College in many years. So I looked it up, and it's still open, okay? It's still open. So they may have changed the name of it. Am I correct on that? To Lincoln College of Technology Trade School. Okay. There it is right there. Looks like they done a lot of work on it too, which is to be expected. Okay. So, again, this is over 100 years old. I told y'all I was a wee little girl. So it's Lincoln. It's called Lincoln Tech then? Okay. Okay, so, okay, we're praying for both of your daughters. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Many prayers, many prayers. Ooh. Many prayers. We will pray for you. Many prayers. Okay. So okay. So y'all can look this up on your own, but they're training programs there. Okay. Hey TJ and everybody come in. They're training programs there. They do automotive, collision repair, diesel and truck service technologies, heavy equipment, welding. I mean, it's a real good, it was, I know back in the day, school and all that. Hi, ICU. They partner with Peterbilt, all the things, all the things, all the things. That's where all the young guys went. I don't know if you can see from my light. It really sucks. But it's, they have a campus there also on Ellingston Parkway. It's close. But anyway, it's at 1524 Gallatin Road. They have all their student information and all that. They have financial aid, all the things. It's not a big deal. I just wanted to pull that up. The reason that I wanted to pull that up and that caught my attention was, again, it's not a big deal. It was because of what they said about the green hoodie and what they noticed. Again, I can't read all of it, but by the letter N from Twitter, this Melanie at Puffalini, it's been about an hour ago now, put, it looked like, looking at the bottom letters of the hoodie, I saw the letters NASA. Above the letter N, I saw what they thought appeared to be the astronaut symbol. Don't make it true. I'm just telling you what they put out on Twitter. And they said that they worked at she, I guess, worked at the Diesel College. I'm going to try to blow it up here and put the picture up again. So again, I don't know, but that caught my attention because of the Diesel College and because I even sent over the message to someone and said, could that possibly be, well, let's just say this. In my opinion, we all know there's a certain father figure who's a truck driver and, well, he's laying low, right? Nobody's talking about him, and he's laying very low. I feel like he needs to be checked out if he hasn't already. There was some reason also Nina did not want her child around that father, right? Why is that? I don't know. Sometimes I just throw my hands up in this case. Oh, lady, Smiley will speak it. Smiley sure will speak it. Others may not, but there is a picture out there. There is a picture out there. And again, it don't make it true. But if you'll notice the hoodie guy in the video that walks by, and whether it's a male or a female, I don't know. But if you'll notice the bottom parts of their legs in their jeans or whatever, boy, it sure does match that old photo of the person by the truck. I'm just saying. Oh, I know. I got that picture. That picture's done been, yeah. Well, we'll just say, yeah, I got that. It's done been turned in because I said, could you please check that out? Could you please check it out? Oh, Smiley's been on that 4 or 5 days ago, honey. Just saying. See, you got to look and do your research. Smiley knows. But it hit me about that diesel college. That's all. Just saying. Hello, everybody coming in. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. I hope everybody's had a beautiful day. We're going to watch Nina's video in full. This is her story. I believed it when Trev Time put it out. He gets full credit for getting this interview. He's over on Facebook now. I don't know. I can't remember. Hey Jude sent me this, and I can't remember. You'll have to see on the little screen. I can't remember. Lord, Smiley can't remember nothing. They be asking me stuff backwards at the doctor's office and everything else. I told y'all. I can't remember who this is, but give them credit too when y'all see it. So give Trev Time credit. He gets full credit. But this was Nina's story as she lived it. Okay? It's up to you what you believe or not. Okay? I believe her. If only Sebastian was here to tell what he's lived through and his own story. Hold on a minute. Hold on before we go to this one, because I'm getting more stuff said this one too. This one too. Okay, that's a video. Okay, I'll have to come back to this one. Okay, I'll have to do that one. Okay, I don't think they're in here. They might be. I don't know. Anyway, yes, this is, it would probably be like hers and probably much more. Probably maybe worse, because he was there 24/7. So let's get on with this and see. Thank you all for being here.
Back when I was 35 years old, I met him on a dating website. Don't know what I was doing there, I guess. I wish I could take it back. I started talking to him. He was stationed out in San Diego, and we started talking back and forth. Wanted to get to know him a little bit more. I thought he was a great person in the beginning. But everybody is always perfect in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
We fail to see the red flags, and we fail to notice things that we should in the beginning. So he made a couple of trips out here, asked me to marry him, and I made the mistake by saying I do. So we got married. Eventually, we moved to San Diego. I wasn't really ever prepared to move away again from New Mexico. I had went through a divorce a couple years prior to meeting Christopher. And my first husband was military as well, but I was married to him for 9.5 to 10 years, almost 10 years. We made it. He's the father of my other 2 children. And I told him that, I was remarrying and we were moving to San Diego. And he wasn't really for it. He was kind of against it due to the fact that he was stationed out at Fort Bliss, which is in El Paso, Texas. And that's about like 3.5 hours from Albuquerque. So he was, he would always see his kids like every weekend. And he's like, how am I going to see my kids? And I said, well, we'll figure it out. So we packed up after we said I do. I don't remember the exact date when I got married to Christopher, and maybe that's a good thing. We moved into the naval housing out there. And my son, Noah, was 3 at the time. And my oldest was about 7 years old. And she was telling me 7. So I thought everything was great in the beginning. I mean, everything's always perfect, like I said. And then I started seeing bits and pieces of how Christopher really was. I was a stay-at-home wife. Due to my son being so young, I wanted to, enjoy those years with him. Then my daughter went to school right down the street. So I was home every single day. And it just started seeing like Christopher change like night and day. It was awkward. I felt really uncomfortable.
I think he's scared.
After a while.
I think they're getting
nervous.
nervous.
We would argue about just the smallest things. And a lot of it also had to do with how he disciplined my children.
Oh, thank you.
I'm very protective over my kids. And I didn't want somebody else to discipline my children. I didn't want him talking ugly to them or hurting their feelings. And I remember one point in time where Christopher spanked my son really hard, and I got very upset with him, and I said, you can't do that to my son. I said, he's 3, he's a baby still. Like, you can't just do whatever you want. I mean, and he got upset, and he's like, well, he needs to learn. He needs to man up. He's a man. I said, he's 3. He's 3. And as time went on, like, I could see him getting more aggressive and more aggressive. And I stood up for my kids all the time. I didn't like how he talked to them, how he wanted them to stand in the corner all the time. And I didn't like that. So I stayed a little bit longer. I ended up eventually getting pregnant with Faith. And it was probably,
thank you,
I want to say,
thank you, whoever got that. Thank you so much. I don't know who got
that I found out that I was pregnant with Faith. And I remember telling him that I was pregnant, and he wasn't happy about it. So I called my parents back home here in Albuquerque, and I told them the situation. And I said, well, Christopher wants me to get an abortion with Faith. And my parents said, no, you're not. And I said,
get Locker, got it. Congratulations, honey.
So I know he was very upset about me keeping Faith at that point in time. So I came home. My grandma had gotten very sick, and I decided to come home. And
Lisa,
after that, I just kind of stayed here in New Mexico, because at that time we weren't getting along, and we were just like newlyweds, and that should have never happened. But I saw things, like I said, that were just it wasn't right about him. So I moved home. And I did my whole pregnancy by myself. And so I finally, my friends back there in California, my neighbors right across the street were actually calling me. I had one good friend, which is still a really good friend of mine to this day. She called me and said, Nina, Christopher's getting rid of your furniture and getting rid of your stuff. And I was like, what? And was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you're like, he's giving away like your little, your home decor stuff. Like he's giving away beds. And I was like, no way. So this was about Easter time. So I had went out there. I made a special trip. I asked my mom to go with me, and Isabella and Noah, they went with me, and I was still pregnant with Faith at the time. So we made it. I didn't tell him that we were going out there. So I kind of, wanted to see myself, because the neighbor also informed me that there was people at the house that shouldn't have been there. So I guess I kind of wanted to sneak up on him and see what he was doing, right?
Love wins.
And we pulled up into the driveway, into the driveway, and he was coming out the front door with a bed that he was giving to the neighbor, which was my son's bed. And the look on his face was like a deer in headlights. And he dropped the bed right there in the front yard, went back in the front door, slammed the door and locked it on my kids. And my mom told me at that point, she said, I can't believe he's doing this. Like, what is he doing?
Take a measure.
So I go in and I unlock the door and I said, what are you doing? I said, are you giving away my stuff? And he had nothing to say. So he brought the bed back in, because I knew that's what he was doing. And, the neighbor across the street, like I said, told me. So we stayed there. It was super uncomfortable. My mom felt the tension between the both of us. My children felt it as well. And at the time, Faith started moving. Like I could start, I felt her moving around in my stomach. And I told Christopher, I said, look, I said, put your hand on my stomach. I said, can you feel her move? He said, no. When you're pregnant, you always think that your spouse is going to be super supportive and be super excited that you're pregnant and bringing a life into this world for him, right? But I didn't get that. I didn't get that support that I needed. So we had a conversation my mom brought up between Christopher, myself, and her. And she had said, do you not want Faith? Like, do you not want this baby? And Christopher stated to my mom, he wasn't happy. And he said, what if one of them dies? What if Faith dies or Nina dies on the table, or when she's having this baby? Like my mom said, don't talk like that. Like, why are you talking like that? They're still here. So we left again after a couple of days.
Wait.
We came home to Albuquerque.
Oh my God. Hold on a minute.
And still,
Hold on.
I tried working it out.
Sorry, y'all. I'm usually on this end. He didn't want her to have the baby to begin with. He wanted her to have an abortion. And now he's saying, well, what if Faith or her dies? In my opinion, I think he did everything he could to make, and this is my opinion, he made her miserable her whole pregnancy. He stressed her out. He was giving all of her kids that wasn't even his kids and her things away. I think he was hoping. But he was giving her kid, think about that. He was giving her kids things away that was not even his, just like he did Sebastian's. Control freak. Can you say that? Control freak. I mean, what was she going to do? Go down there and try to stop him? She was pregnant. What was she going to do? But he sure was driving her blood pressure up and doing things to make her, oh my God. And he never, unfortunately, I hope this little girl never hears this, but I'm sure she will. In my opinion, wanted that little girl, and it was always Kathy that wanted her. But in my opinion, it was not, they, it wasn't the same as me wanting my granddaughter. It was still, they want to control the situation, and Kathy wanted her just because. That's what I get. And somebody asked a while ago, did they ever have another court date? I don't know. But whoever that judge was that allowed her to go down for the summer, oh boy, it's just lucky she did get back to her mother, in my opinion. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Where we were at, but it just wasn't working. I wanted out. And I had faith on my own. Christopher called the hospital. I told him on June 1st that I got admitted into the hospital. And Faith arrived like at June 2nd, like about 3 or 4 in the morning. And he kept calling the hospital and saying that my wife is in labor. She's there. But Christopher was just so,
yeah,
he was just so rude and hateful and just, I mean, he wasn't even there. So then he arrived a couple days later after Faith, I had Faith, and he was, the doctors and the nurses there were on high alert due to the fact that they heard Christopher over the phone on how he was being disrespectful to the nurses that were on call that night, as I was waiting to have her. And I asked that they not give him any more information. So he arrived. I had Faith. He arrived a couple days later, like I said. And you could just tell the look on his face, like he wasn't happy at all. Like, didn't say, hey, you did a good job. Didn't say, I'm so happy that you brought my daughter into this world, like nothing. And I remember my sister was holding Faith, and she had to ask Chris, do you want to hold her? He said, I guess. So she handed her over to Chris. And he stayed there with me for a couple more days because I had a C-section. And on one of the occasions, I can't recall what was happening, but he was raising his voice and he was talking to me very disrespectful in front of one of the nurses. And she had told him, look, she just brought life into this world. She just got major surgery and you're yelling at her, and I have a problem with that. She said, if you continue to do this, I'm going to have to tell social services to come down here. And I'm also going to have to ask you to leave the hospital and not return. So at that point in time, he kind of calmed down after he heard that. But unfortunately, that didn't last very long. He continued to do that. So social services at the hospital was told to come down. And he was pretty much, she said, you can't do that here. And she was really concerned for my well-being at the time, and also Faith's, because, here is Christopher, dictating and telling me what I can and can't do, and telling the nurses to do their job correctly and all these other things, and raising his voice at me. And, so they had to step in. And so she said, this is it. Like, you're going to have to leave the premises. And, and he got a little upset, and he's like, no, I'm going to change. I'm going to be good. So, they said, okay, but we're watching you. We're watching you. So after that, we had left. They discharged all of us from the hospital, and he didn't want to stay at my parents' house because my mom and dad live in a trailer, and he doesn't like that. It's a house, right? Still.
I would say they still have the records.
So he rented a room at Kirtland Air Force Base, and they have like lodging there, which is like a house, old base housing. And we ended up getting one of those. And we stayed there for a while. I remember one night in particular where we all had went out and got something to eat to bring it back to the room. I had went into the restroom. I believe that's where I was at. And Faith was in her car seat. And my oldest daughter was in the living room with my son and Christopher. Well, anyways, I guess I wasn't moving fast enough for Christopher. But the baby started crying. Faith started crying. And, she's crying, and I'm trying to get to her as fast as I can. And when she was in the car seat, my oldest daughter at the time witnessed this with my 3-year-old son. When she was in the car seat, he ended up hitting the car seat against the wall.
That's abuse.
And he's getting upset because she's crying. And then when she was in her car seat, there was a coffee table right there, and he ended up tossing her on the coffee table with the car seat because he was so irate that she was crying.
I would have took something.
And I said, hey, I said, what's your problem? I said, what are you doing? Like, she's a baby. She's going to cry. I wish I would have just...
Chris, if you're watching this, I was 16 years old when I had my first baby. And I knew better than to do that. I knew better than to do that. You do not throw your baby or slam your baby in a car seat or otherwise. And this is for everybody, in case you did not know. He should have long had abuse charges and been locked up, in my opinion. Who does that? Y'all want to talk about 16 years old and this one and that one ain't old enough to have kids and yada, yada, yada? Well, some may not be, but evidently Some grown people don't even need a grasshopper in a tank. I'm just telling you. What is wrong with this picture, y'all? And then we come to find out he has 5 CPS cases. 5. We didn't know about 4. One was open because of Sebastian after the fact, so that's 5. But he admitted to 2 on my show interview, or whatever you want to call it, in New Mexico and I think Texas. That makes, or California, that makes 7. So everybody keeps saying 5, but he has a total of 7. And Katie is named in, well, we don't know until we see them, but we know that she was at least named in some of them. So what type of parent is she? And from what we hear in the beginning, she never wanted children either. What is wrong with this whole picture? But yet he didn't want kids, but yet he gets with people with kids. He got with Nina and he got with Katie. Fortunately for Nina, they got divorced and he got away. Unfortunately for Sebastian, I'm not even going to say for Katie, because evidently I think she chose her path. I think she chose exactly what she wanted. They're 2 peas in a pod, if you ask me. I think they wanted the same thing. A free life. In my opinion, that's just my theories. Theories don't make anything fact. Hey, Justice Jane, Merry Christmas to you. Rachel was lucky to get away with her life, as we now know. I don't know about Stephanie. I haven't heard much about Stephanie. Vanessa, when I found out who Vanessa was, I didn't know at my interview. But I know now, when I seen a picture, I was like, oh my God, that was Chris's first wife? Woo! See, I think he was just in diaper training then, getting married. I'm very proud she got away. I know exactly who that is. Thank God those cards fell and she got out. I know exactly who that is. I'm so glad she got away, and I'm glad Rachel got away, because right after my interview, the things I found out, because in my interview I didn't know. I kept saying, "Who's Rachel?" He wanted to pretend Rachel. Oh, what about Rachel? I said, "Hell, I don't know. They're asking me. I don't know nothing about Rachel." Honey, when I got off here, my phone was blowing up. Oh, all my ex-wives talk to my mommy. My mommy, that just goes to show you. My mommy talks to them today. Chris, you know better. And then I got the word, and I got proof. Rachel won't be doing no talking to nobody. Rachel was left for dead, honey, in a puddle of blood. Chris, you want to come back up here and prove me wrong? You want to prove Rachel wrong? Oh, and Mr. Mike, are you still in here? Mike. I think I owe you an apology from the other day, honey. Maybe you ain't Mr. Chris after all. Maybe you're Mike. Oh, Mike. Oh, would you like to come up here and talk, Mr. Mike? You have something to say? I'll be kind to you just like I was your precious boy, if that's you. Well, maybe, Tam. That's what I thought too. But what if it's his dada? What if it's his dada? Either way, I'll talk to either one of them. He seemed to wanted to say something again today. I guess he's perturbed because I'm talking about Nina today. But it's her story as she remembers it. If you remember something different, either one of y'all, about this lady, because Dada was there too. You'll hear this in this interview. Y'all come up here and set the record straight. Terry, Kathy, anybody's welcome to come up here. I'll be gentle. If not, we shall carry on.
I wish I would have never met him.
I do too, honey.
I'm sorry. I should have left a long time ago. Because no children ever deserve this. My kids didn't. So he left again to San Diego. A couple of days went by. Then all of a sudden he's like, well, you know, why don't you move to Hendersonville?
No, it's not her
like,
fault. Absolutely not.
Why though? You know, in my head, and I knew it was a bad idea. I just knew it. I knew it because our marriage was on the rocks. I wasn't happy. He wasn't a good father figure to my children. I don't know why I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, so let me back up. So before he left back to San Diego, Faith ended up going back into the NICU. She ended up getting jaundice and she went back to the NICU. So she was in the NICU, I want to say for a week to a week and a half. And that was when Kathy, Chris's mother, came out, flew down with her brother, Duran guy, or they call him Big D. They came down.
Big D.
And she was in the NICU. And that was when I felt like a plan was made because like I said, our marriages it was on the rocks. And one of my neighbors had told me in San Diego, they had warned me. They had said, Dina, be careful because Christopher is coming up with a plan with his mother. And they're planning on taking the baby away from you. And I was like, what? Like, thinking to myself, it can't be true from somebody that's supposed to love you, right? Like somebody that you're supposed to share your life with. Like, why would he want to take the baby away from me? And she warned me. But I was like, no, why would they do that? So then after Faith got out of the NICU, we were no longer staying in base housing. We were staying at one of the embassy suites down here. Then his mom came up with an idea. She goes, well, since you guys, will be moving to Hendersonville. And I was like, I felt like, okay, well, maybe. And he's like, well, you'll get help. You're going to get help from my family. And, but I was already getting help here from my parents, with my other 2 children that they helped me raise. So that I went along with it. Like I said earlier, even though I knew it was wrong to go, I still went hoping that my marriage would work out. So she ended up taking Faith, although I was against it. Kathy Bowersox and her brother Duran ended up taking Faith. And my mom and dad were like, my mom started crying and she goes, why are you letting them take the baby? And I said, because Christopher said that it's going to be too hard for her to travel, to travel. And I'm sorry. They went back. So Kathy and Big D went back to Tennessee. So 2 weeks later, about 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later, Kathy ended up coming back by herself. I do apologize. She came back by herself to pick up Faith. She was here in Albuquerque for one night, and I was, even though I was against it, I let her go with Kathy because Christopher said it was going to be too hard to travel with her being a new baby. So he came out from San Diego, rented a U-Haul, packed all our stuff, and we pretty much left. And that's how I ended up in Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That's when my whole life changed. That's when my nightmare happened. We lived with his mother and his stepfather, Terry, for about a good month because our apartment wasn't going to be ready until the end of August, about the end of August. So it was really uncomfortable living there. Terry and Kathy would always bicker at each other, and she'd be bickering with Christopher, and, my kids were a problem, an issue. It was always something. I felt really uncomfortable and I wanted to come home. I just wanted to come home to everything that I knew.
Poor thing.
I wanted my mom and my dad, even though I was a grown woman. I needed that. So we all had to get along, tried to for the most part, but it was just an awkward situation. I always felt like we were the outcast. Never felt accepted by the Proudfoots or the Bowersox. On one occasion, Christopher was cutting my oldest daughter's nails, and she didn't want her nails cut. And Christopher, grabbed a hold of her hand, and she pulled her hand away. And my daughter at the time had braces. He backhand Isabel in the face and busted her whole lip open.
God.
I should have left, but I didn't. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't be here. I don't want to be here anymore. So I would come up with every excuse just to come home, but yet, I couldn't come home. So finally we went and we moved into the apartment. And a phone call, like as soon as Christopher was leaving, he settled us in, got a storage unit of what couldn't fit in the apartment. He got everything ready, all right? Him and his family. As soon as he knew that we were comfortable, he left back to San Diego. But the night prior to him leaving, he had got a phone call or text message that night, and it said something like, "Hey, baby," or around something like that, saying that when is your flight coming in? And I was like, what? Like, who's texting him?
I agree. They're
so I
going
did
to
confront him, and like he said on one of the podcasts is that I did slap him. Yes, I did slap him across the face, because who's he talking to at this time and saying, and I mean, he could say that she was lesbian, I mean, up and down, but I mean, at this point in time, I didn't know what to believe, and I was like, okay. So then after that following day, he finally left. His mother came to pick him up to take him to the airport.
No,
and he went back to San Diego.
It is.
And I was left in Hendersonville with 3 children and pretty much no help from anybody. So I have found a job. I had a job, and Kathy helped once in a while. And I needed to find a babysitter. So his biological father, Michael, and his stepmother, Linda, at that point in time offered their service.
Okay. I want to also say this too. Speaking of that, just so you know, even with the Texas Roadhouse video and everything, well, I mean, they had their PI guy, come out and say something on Twitter, because they had to run down there and get it and drop it the night Seth did his birthday thing, which was absolutely shitty, and it was dropped to creators, but it was altered. Well, anyway, never mind all that. We won't go there again. And he is a horrible, horrible person. But anyway, no wonder they get along. But even with that and this, even back when Trev Time got this interview and all that, and they were talking and blabbing their mouth on all these channels and stuff, you don't see them coming out and saying, this is not true. This didn't happen. I mean, you don't see all this, right? And for goodness sakes, I can see Mr. Fishhead doing that, and Chris and her too. Anyway, don't get me off subject because I get all. But anyway, I wouldn't have got my damn thing. I'd called the police and had them arrested, but that's just me. Anyway. And I've said 100 times, where is all their people coming out and saying good things about them? I ain't talking about the YouTube people. I ain't talking about the ones that they're paying to distract. I ain't talking about, I don't see anybody. I don't see neighbors. I asked them, they go, where's Mommy Socks, dearest? I mean, she's into real estate. Honey, where is all of these people for character references? You know, the ones you sold houses to, their neighbors, these military people, good upstanding citizens. Where are the people at? It appears so, don't it, Lisa? You know, I guess money's good for a lot of things, but I guess money don't buy everything. Lord have mercy. Mm-mm-mm. Well,
services and said that, you know, they can take care of my 2 older children. And Faith or Kathy didn't want Faith going over to Michael's house. So she took care of her. And at that point in time, Christopher, we were still communicating. And like I said, our relationship, our marriage was on the rocks. So my oldest daughter had gotten sick and she has upper respiratory issues. So I took her to the emergency room in Hendersonville, and that's when Hendersonville transferred her to Vanderbilt. Is that what I believe that hospital's name is? And I was kind of frantic because I was like, well, what am I going to do with my 3-year-old son and with the baby? Like, who's going to help me? So I was, you know, I called Chris and I told him, I said, hey, I said, can your mom watch, you know, Faith, or can somebody help me? You know, everybody was so quick to help me at that point in time. So Faith stayed with Kathy and Noah Bryce went with his sister, Melissa. And I went with my oldest daughter. We got transported downtown. And so we stayed there. I can't recall how many days we were there. And Christopher had, you know, I'd check on the kids, see how they were doing. And that point in time, I was like, okay, well, we got discharged, telling everybody, okay, you can bring Noah back, and telling Kathy, okay, I'm going to be home so you can bring Faith back. Thinking that my children were going to come home to me. I get back to the apartment complex and I pulled into the parking lot and I see Melissa just pulled in right next to me. It seems like they were already there waiting for me to get there. And then she said, I can't stay. I would love to stay, but I can't stay because I don't know what they were doing. And she does, you know, my son gets out of her van and then we walk inside and I was waiting, you know, for Faith to get there. And we weren't there but less than maybe 5 minutes. And I hear a knock at the door. And I was like, oh, great, Faith is home. And it was Kathy's friend, Patty, that's an attorney. And she said, are you called me by my real name, Gomez? And I was like, yeah. And she said, you've been served. She said, you have a protection order against you. You can't see Faith. And Chris is filing for divorce. And I was like, what? So then I go back, and thinking like my heart just drops. Like, what? Like, is this a dream? Like, this can't be happening to me. Like, this cannot be happening to me right now. So then I get on the phone and I try calling Chris, and he didn't answer. And then I was like, rushing around, and I get my kids in the truck and I go to the Gallatin police department, and I, was ringing the call button. And like finally 30 minutes later, somebody shows up, and I told them what happened, and I showed them the paper, and they said, yep, we can't help you.
Boo Boo or Booler, what's your name, son? How long you been following this case? Did you take a wrong turn, honey? I just want to know how long you've been following this case. I just wondered if you're in the wrong chat, wrong live. You saw the title, you saw her picture. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. I can play it today, tomorrow, the next day, every day, over and over again. But you're welcome to stay if you can behave. Just saying. Yeah, I know. I get it. I get it. Hey, Mama Bear. How you doing, honey? Yeah, Nina is so pretty and kind and everything else. It's just a shame she was done that way by the entire family. In the entire family. It just makes you want to cry. So, for those in the back, if Nina was done that way by the entire family, and Chris did his only biological baby from birth, threw her in the car seat, slammed her down, backhanded his only child's sister, abused other children, and their mother, the person he was supposed to love, and allowed his family to do that as well. Can you imagine, besides what he said out of his own mouth on my interview, the things he did to Sebastian? What he actually did to Sebastian, and what Sebastian's bio mother allowed him and or his family to do to Sebastian, as well as what she may have done to Sebastian, in my opinion. So we're going back, and we'll keep going back, and keep going back, and keep going back.
all I can think about is my baby. Like, how am I gonna get my baby back? Like, why is this happening to me? So I go to Kathy's house and I knock on the door. And I remember I had Christopher's stepmom, Linda, on the phone with me. She was on speakerphone, and I told her what was going on. Little did I know everybody was in on this. And Terry answered the door, which is Chris's stepfather. And he told me that I need to get off of his fucking property. And here little Noah was 3 years old and my Isabella is 7. And they're standing behind me. And I said, please tell me what's going on. I said, where's Faith? I said, please give me my baby back. And he told me, get off my fucking property. And he took out a green and black baseball bat.
Oh my God.
And he told me to fucking leave or he's gonna bash me and my kids' heads. So me and my kids walked out to my truck and we got back in it. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? This is a nightmare. What am I gonna do? And Chris was inside of the house with the baby. I saw his shadow. And they lied for him and they said that he was in California and he really wasn't. So we go back to the apartment and I'm trying to gather all my thoughts together. I'm trying to keep as calm as I can for my other 2 children, but all I could do is just cry.
Mm-hmm.
And just think, like, what is the next move? What am I going to do now? I'm so far away from home. I'm far away from my parents. I'm far away from everything that I've ever known. So then I make a call to my brother, who, he lives in Phoenix. And I told him what was going on, and he was so upset. And he's like, oh, my God. And he's like, have you called Mom and Dad yet? And I said, no. And he told me himself that day, he said, you're going to fight. You're going to fight like hell to get Faith back. You don't leave that baby in that state. You fight like hell to get her back, whatever it takes. And that's what I did. I called my mom and dad. And it had to have been after midnight here, so about like 1 something our time there. My dad answered the phone. And I couldn't talk. All I could do is cry.
Thanks, Brenda.
I couldn't get the words out. And finally he said, calm down. Please calm down and tell me what happened. And I told him, I said, Daddy, they took my baby.
My God.
And all he could get out is, oh no, they hurt my baby. he started crying. And he woke my mom up. And he said, "You hang in there, we're on our way." So every single day, I worked at a local Great Flips out there. And I went in from the time it opened to the time it closed. That following morning, after all this had happened, I went to my bank account and to my savings. I've been saving money through this whole entire time, but I've been using it since we were out there so I can help support my kids and myself. But little did I know that Christopher wanted me to use all my money because he didn't want me to have anything so I wouldn't retain a lawyer. So that morning before I went to work and dropped my kids off, at the time, Michael and Linda, which is Christopher's biological father, and his stepmother were still helping me watch my kids because I still had to work. And I went into my bank account, and I remember I only had $1,100 in there. And I was looking through the phone book, or looking through, my phone, and seeing, well, I need to get a lawyer. Who can I get? Thank God for Mr. Edwards, because I went into his office before, I called into work that day pretty much, and I said, I need to just think. I said, I need a day off. So I went into his office, and I ended up doing a consultation with him. And I remember him, he told me what his fees were, and he told me, I told him the situation. And he was in shock, and he goes, my God, he goes, this all happened? Like, you should have never came out here. And I said, I know, I should have never came out here. So at the time, I explained the situation to Mr. Edwards, and I was crying. And I said, Mr. Edwards, I said, I just want my baby back. And then,
hey, Selena,
I remember I still had my wedding ring on at that point in time.
Can you imagine this right here?
And I slipped off my wedding ring, and I sat it on his desk. And he looks at me, and I said, please, sir, I would do anything just for my baby back. He said, you're all I have.
Oh my God, that just broke my heart.
Please help me. I remember he took out his little magnifying glass, and he looked at it, and he put his head down, and he goes, God. He goes, I work for money. I said, and I know, sir. I said, and I promise I will pay you every dime that I can. Just help me bring my baby home. And he said, you got yourself a lawyer. And he fought. He fought like hell for Faith. We went to, everything happened in Gallatin Courthouse. My parents were there. We went to the first trial, And I remember walking in the courthouse and my stomach was turning. I hadn't seen my baby. And they had my baby there. Just in arm's reach, and I couldn't even hold her, and I couldn't even kiss her, and I couldn't even tell her I love her.
My God.
So we went to trial. I don't know what you want to call it, a trial, a hearing. I think I was just so oblivious to everything at that point because I was so heartbroken that my baby was gone. And I go into the courtroom and all I had was my dad in there. And their side, all the benches filled up with his family being loud and laughing. And it was just my daddy and me and Mr. Edward. And I remember the judge, his attorney, just everybody in there. All the hurtful things that they put on black and white about me. Just the eyes glaring at me and making it seem like I was a bad person. And I sat there. And he asked me a couple of questions, and I answered. One of them was, "Why did you move out here, Miss Proudfoot?" I said, "Your Honor, to try to make my marriage work," said in which it didn't. I said, "I made a mistake by coming out here. I made a mistake by trusting somebody.
Trust no one."
And I said, if I could change back the hands of time, I probably wouldn't have even came out here."
Hey,
And they
Matthew.
did whatever they were doing, and then the judge, said that I only had visitations with Faith, and they all had to be supervised. So then the supervised visitations started happening, and we would visit Faith. And I remember one visitation that had happened at a park. I can't recall the park's name, but there was a duck pond and really nice playground for the kids. And I remember Kathy showing up with Faith. And we all sat there, got Faith out of the car seat. I was loving on her and kissing her and telling her how much I love her. How much we missed
Thought
her.
about it. But she's still going to be in big trouble if that is the case, Punky.
And I handed her to her big sister. And I took a picture of those two. And my oldest daughter was crying. We only had about, I believe it was between 20 and 30 minutes of visitation with Faith once a week, if I'm right. There's a lot of things that after so many years, it's hard. Like, I would just remember, like, the big things that happened, and that was one of them. It was between 20 and 30 minutes. And my son was there.
Hate you.
And then Kathy got her ready to leave. They had to leave first, and then we left after.
Absolutely.
I remember holding my son and my daughter's hand, and we were walking back to my vehicle. And my son started crying. And I started crying, and then my daughter started crying. And he said, "Mama, I'm gonna run super fast, Mama. I'm gonna go grab Faith, and you meet me on the other side of the park, Mama. I'm gonna run so fast, and then you drive off, Mama."
Oh my God. Her kids will never forget
pain that Christopher and his family has brought to my family is pain that we'll never forget. Pain that we live with every single day of our lives. And I remember that very clear. And we went home. We had another trial a couple weeks later. Was I believe I want to say it was in maybe November, either in October or November. I can't recall the date. But at that trial, I was praying to God and to my God that we were going to bring Faith home. And we went to that courthouse, and with my mom and dad and Isabella and Noah. At this point in time, my mom was going to testify against Christopher. My daughter was going to testify against Christopher. And they had said, his lawyer at the time had said, don't let her daughter testify. And so we went without it. Nobody testifying that day.
I don't know.
Christopher had ended up getting, he was talking at the time. Judge was asking him all kinds of questions. And he made me look like a monster. He made me look like I was the problem. He made me feel awful about myself and saying all these things in front of these people that weren't even true. It wasn't even true. And then it came to my attorney talking. And at that point in time, I was just like, gosh, like, oh God, please let a miracle. Just like, let this just be over with. when people tell lies and when they say hurtful things about you, you just feel so disgusting about yourself. And that's the way I felt. And I remember we needed to break and come back. And Mr. Edwards at that point in time went into the chambers with the judge. And I don't know what was being said, being done back there, but he was in there for a while. And he ended up coming back out. Court was back in session. Everything was, we're going back and forth again. And at some point in time, the judge just had enough. The judge was done hearing everything that had happened. And Christopher, was speaking, and the judge just said, that's enough. Like, I don't want to even hear what you have to say anymore. He's like, you premeditated this?
Mm-hmm, me too.
This was premeditated. You knew exactly what you and your family were doing. You brought this woman out here with her children, and you guys knew exactly what you were doing. And he said, 8:30, Gallatin's Sheriff's Department, that's where the exchange is going to happen. My heart just dropped, and my attorney looks at me and he said,
I agree. That's what I think. Premeditated, in my opinion.
You won. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to hit my knees, and all I could think about is, I couldn't wait to wrap my arms around my baby again. And the judge, everybody was hysterical on his side, of course, and my daughter and my mom were waiting out there. And I remember his uncle going out there, and he swung open the door, and he was so angry. And my daughter overheard him say, she won. She won. And I remember my dad was still sitting behind me, and and he had tears in his eyes, and he's like, let's go. And my attorney followed me outside, and we went out, and there was just so much chaos coming from the Proudfoots. And we went outside very humbly, and he took us in back of the courthouse the other way. And right there and then I hit my knees. I finally could be relieved, a big, oh my God, we did this. And he said, 8:30, go pick her up. I said, thank you, Mr. Edwards. I said, I owe you my life to you helped me get my baby back. So then we went back to our truck, and we went back to the apartment. We packed what we could, and we pretty much left everything else behind in the storage unit. At that time, I didn't need anything. Because I had everything I've ever wanted. So I remember my dad saying, come on, we gotta go. So we went to the sheriff's department. And we showed up, and I remember I told my dad, I said, wait here. I said, stay at that Wendy's. So my dad stayed at that Wendy's waiting for me, and he said, okay, he's like, you call me when you're on your way so I can follow you out, okay? And I said, okay, Dad. We got to the sheriff's department. Christopher and his Michael, Linda, Kathy, Big D, Melissa, his whole entire family was there. So then the exchange was happening, and they live streamed me on Facebook. They said, I can't believe the judge awarded her custody. You know, and I was just standing there, I remember, and I said, can I have my baby back, please? And I remember his mother had her phone in her hand, or his mother, yes, and she had a brown paper sack full of diapers and a dirty bottle. And she threw it at me, and she said, I think you're going to need this, laughing. Then I said, thank you. And my 2 younger children were sitting in the back. And then I said, okay, can I have Faith back now? So I forget if it was Kathy or Chris, but they tossed her at me, and I caught her. And I said, thank you. So then I get her in her car seat, trying to buckle her up and telling my kids, I said, you need to buckle up. I said, okay, we're going to leave. I remember at the time, my front door had opened at that time, and Christopher got inside of my driver's seat of my truck. And everybody was still filming, live streaming me on Facebook. And Melissa Proudfoot had said, why don't you put it in reverse and drive over her?
Y'all hear that? That's pure evil.
And I told my kids, I said, get out. I'm trying to get Faith out again. And I told my kids, and I remember he put the truck in reverse. And I told my kids, I said, get out. I said, jump, get out. And I remember them getting out as fast as they could. And we're running into the sheriff's department, and I had Faith, and I'm running, and I'm yelling, and I'm asking for help. I said, somebody please help me. Nobody came out. And then finally, he came in, Christopher, behind me. And they finally opened the door. And they put me in a back room with my kids. They turned the lights off on us. In the process of me calling my attorney to tell him what was going on, Kathy disconnected my cell phone.
Oh my God.
And I remember Mr. Edwards calling the police department and telling them they need to let me go.
Oh my God.
And at the time, Christopher was still in the military. And Mr. Edwards, I remember them telling him, she needs to go. because this could possibly cause Mr. Proudfoot his career. So at that point in time, I got escorted outside.
I wonder if he was,
by a couple of sheriffs that were there.
what do you call it?
They seemed like they knew each other, all of them.
Favorably discharged. What do you call
The
that?
Proudfoots. And I remember
discharged.
Christopher had asked one of the sheriffs if he could say goodbye to Faith, and I said, absolutely not. So
Yeah,
I remember
because I think all
getting
that
in my truck after I got the kids in, and I called my dad and I told him what happened. He was so mad.
Are you sure? I mean, is that a fact?
He goes, he was lucky I wasn't there. I'd have knocked the shit out of him. He said.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, Dad, I'm coming.
It would be public. I don't know. I had never looked into it or anything.
Everybody followed me.
I'm nosy. I just wasn't that
down the interstate.
Yeah, fact check.
My dad and I were weaving in and out of traffic.
Marshaled.
Trying to lose them.
Yeah.
The whole family were following me and Dad about 80, 90 miles an hour. We were going down the interstate just to get away from them.
Does anybody know? So he's the one with the tags. Okay. So that answers that.
We drove all night. We finally got to Little Rock, Arkansas. And Dad had asked me, are you tired? So I could see if I could try to sleep.
I thought they were skilled. I don't know.
We couldn't sleep. So then we drove all the way home. We were all scared. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We drove.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
The relief that I had just to see, I've never felt so relieved to see that New Mexico. Welcome to New Mexico sign.
Thank you, Lady for Justice.
I was finally home. Finally, we made it. Chris kept calling, and I avoided him like the plague. Because the judge in Tennessee awarded me custody. He had no jurisdiction over Faith or myself or my other two children.
Because I want to.
And at the time of all this, they brought CPS involved in that case over there. So we get home here, not even a couple days goes by. He ended up calling CPS on us here. And using CPS against me every chance that he got. Showing up to my kids' school. Scaring my kids. Just like he did in Tennessee. So I filed for divorce here, which I should have filed on tribal land at the time. Because I wouldn't be going through this. So the divorce happened, but it dragged on and on and on because Christopher made a big deal about absolutely everything. I had to ask for permission to leave Bernalillo County. I had to tell him what I was doing, and if I left New Mexico, he had to know. I am part Native American, so our reservation is probably about 4 to 5 hours from Albuquerque, and at the time, my grandmother was still alive. So we would go out there to see her, and he really never wanted me to take Faith out there. And on top of that, he really never wanted Faith to be Native American. Christopher knew that I was Mexican American and also Native American, but he hated the fact that, and he still hates the fact that Faith is part Native American. So just everything, he would take me back to court for just everything. It wasn't a good divorce. And the parenting plans, it had to be his way or nobody's way. He had to have the last word, and this is what he wanted, and his attorney made sure that's exactly what he got. A lot of times I gave in because I wanted it to be over. I didn't want to have to or have somebody dictate what I can and can't do. I mean, I've been a mother for an X amount of years at this time, and it wasn't like, I'm new to all this. But everything had always had to have been Christopher's way. And even though I gave him what he wanted, it was something different. Oh, Faith can't wear leggings, or, just the stupidest things, or, it was dumb. I can't even recall how many hearings I went to with Christopher. It's been horrible. So at this point in time, I didn't really agree to the parenting plan. I didn't like it, but I signed it anyways, just because I wanted it to be over with. The divorce was finally final. And he was still stationed, I believe, in San Diego at this point in time. He was, if I'm correct, he was already living with Katie when we were still married. We were going through the divorce, but he had moved in with her. And I was pretty surprised how fast he moved on with his life. Like we never mattered. Like Faith was, like, he never had a family. But I should have known that as well prior to the marriages before me. Like how he just moved on so quickly with his life. So he would take Faith out there when she was little, like for 2 weeks or a week. And, Katie and them would be living the family life. I, at the time, did not know Sebastian or Katie. I would just see Katie through FaceTime, where she would be doing something in the background. And I would ask Christopher, I would tell him, I can't believe you've moved on with your life so quick. Like who does that? Well, back and forth we would be going, with Faith. And I finally moved on with my life. But Christopher had made a statement the other night on one of the interviews, the podcast is that he was doing. And I didn't like the way he said this. How he didn't. He called Nina moved in with a man. Like, he knows this person's name. And he deserves to be called his name, not the man. And remind you, I've known
I agree.
Wayne for over 3.5 years. He was my client.
I agree with her on that. When he was telling me he didn't know the man's name and that wasn't important and all that. Okay, that is his daughter that is living in Mexico or New Mexico or wherever, anywhere, it doesn't matter. So why? What is he talking about? That's not important. If they're married or not married or whatever, it is important. You need to know who your daughter, your little daughter, is living with. I don't care if that's your ex-wife, your ex-girlfriend, or whatever. Thank you, little sweet thing. I appreciate you so much for your super sticker. Thank you. But can you tell me, and obviously that touched a nerve with Nina too. Not for her, I don't think, but for her little girl. Tell me why that would not be important. You don't care who your little girl is living with? Come on now. In my opinion, he didn't give her care one about anybody. But who he should have been caring about is his only biological child on this earth, right? He is very irrational, in my opinion, too, Holly. So, yeah, I wanted to point that out. I want to also make sure that y'all know this is full credit to Missing in Plain Sight. Sorry, I just got caught up in listening to this and everything, and I think we all have. But please make sure that we do give full credit to them and go over and sub up to them as well. Thank you. Hold on.
Before we even got exclusive, like being in a relationship, before we even moved in together, he knew I had children. I mean, just so for him to sit there and say that, he basically made it sound like he didn't know this person. He does. So here we are. Faith is 6. I'm still living in this nightmare that he's created. We live in fear every single day. We're constantly watching over our backs. My kids don't even know what a normal childhood should feel like, because they were exposed to all this at a very young age. The awful things that other people could do. My oldest daughter said it best. She said, "Mom, I feel like I was robbed of my childhood because of Chris. Because of everything that he's done. I've had to grow up so quick to protect my siblings. And you protecting us and always living in fear. being called to the office and wondering if Child Protective Services was there. She's 15 now and still hates to go to the office because of everything that he's done and his family has done. I feel helpless because I feel like I can't protect them enough. And I wish there was more that I can do. We're still living in this nightmare. We're still going to court. He still complains about everything when it's not his way. In the beginning, there was CPS called. He used Child Protective Service on me because of the divorce, to get my children taken away from me. He has a friend that works at Albuquerque Police Department as well. I don't know if he still keeps in contact with him. I believe so. He was told to do a welfare check on us one night, but he didn't take the call, probably because he knew both of us. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know how that would have been used against him either, I guess. Maybe he was worried about that. Just, he's been filing for full custody, Christopher, for about a year to 2 years now, if I recall. A lot of this stuff is just, it doesn't make sense to me. He's made a mess. He tells people that I'm unstable, that I need a psychiatric evaluation, that I'm pretty much crazy.
He tried to make her think she was crazy.
It's been a nightmare. And the recent one why he's pushing for full custody is because I moved Faith out of Bosque Farms Elementary to a Native American academy in Albuquerque, where my youngest son goes and my oldest daughter goes down the street to a high school, and it's a minute away. So I was trying to make the commute easier for all of us. All my kids are in curricular activities. My son's in football. My Faith cheers for her brother's Yaffle football team.
It depends. It depends. It depends on the states, and it depends. I think it honestly, I don't know what the law is. It just depends on the judge. Sometimes I think. Thank you, Hey Jude. Thank you. You're so sweet. Oh, wait a minute. I can't get it up. What in the world? There you are. Thank you. Oh, there you are, and there you went. Jesus. There you are. My fingers are. I think, let's see what Tennessee says. I meant not Tennessee. Hold on. Okay. In New Mexico, they can say it at 14 years old. That's in New Mexico. I looked up New Mexico because that's where she resides at. They must consider the child's preference for custody. However, the judge can still rule in the child's best interests if they have good reason to do so. Under the age 14, the judge will consider the child's maturity and whether they can make a sound judgment. The judge may also consider the child's preferences if they are mature enough and there is no evidence of undue influence. If a child custody cases, New Mexico courts generally protect children from appearing in open court, but instead the judge will meet the child privately in the judge's chamber with no court reporter present. The judges are cautious when considering a child's preferences if they suspect that one or both parents are manipulating the child. So, hold on a minute. Hold on. But in Tennessee, which the child don't live there, but in Tennessee, a child can express a preference for which parent they want to live with when they are at least 12 years of age. However, the court is not required to follow the child's choice and will consider other factors when determining the child's best interests. The court may also consider the preference of a child under 12 if the circumstances of the court warrant it. The court will typically give more weight to the preference of older children. Children should not be pressured into choosing between parents. The goal is to hear from a child who is mature enough to share their thoughts. Children often express their wishes to a judge of custody or someone appointed by the court. Tennessee law does not specify a specific age in which a child can express their preference in a custody case. However, the court is more likely to consider the preference of an older, more mature child. Generally, children age 12 or older are deemed to be of sufficient age maturity. So I hope that answers, some of your questions as far as that goes. That was a good question. Let me get caught back up here. So she's old enough, and don't we know? I don't. Honestly, I don't know how old. I honestly don't know how old she is, because every time somebody says something about her, I honestly say she's safe, and and I'm not researching her or anything like that. I think she should be left out of it, to be honest with you. Other than this, since it came to light, and I really think she should be left out of it. Unfortunately, I don't think she should go, back, which she did. I couldn't believe that. And I just think she should honestly be left alone. That's just my opinion. Hey Janice, hello. And I don't feel any judge should rule on anything right now until Sebastian is found and everybody's clear. We know that nobody is clear right now. And so Nina said in a video she's 15. In this video, I don't know, I was trying to look at something. So how far back is it? Because see, I just don't feel that matters, Love Wins. The point is she can say her piece where she might want to go. And I mean, I just told y'all 14. She still, and they still may ask her. Oh, yeah, she has an older son and daughter. She has 3 children, but they're not Chris's, just the one is. Yeah, not Faith. She had a girl and a boy before she met Chris. And then she had Faith. So, I mean, I just don't feel like, and that was a little ways back. So I don't feel like that's important anyways. I mean, the judge will probably ask her anyway, but I'm just telling you what the law is that they go by. Yeah, she's pretty young. I mean, you can see the picture with her with Katie at that restaurant that was put out. By far, she's not 15. She's just a little girl. Hold on a minute. Oh. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, thank you. And anyway, we're going to get back to this because I'm not wasting no time on that.
So practice, my 2 older girls are in Mexican folk dancing, Faith and her older sister are in Mexican folk dancing. My children are in 4-H. So my kids are super busy, and I work in the city as well. So trying to make my life easier, I decided to put her there. And he did not like that, him and his attorney. So they're pushing for full custody about that. I mean, I can't even recall how many other nonsense issues have been brought up. My children, myself, I mean, I'm over it. I'm tired. This has worn my whole entire family down, my children, myself. This is like the first thing I think of when I wake up and the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. There's no words to explain this feeling. I mean, and on top of that, we were supposed to go to trial March 5th, I believe it was. Okay. March 5th. And the first one, March 5th. I went to court January 2nd of 2024. Continuing cases, I had to pay for his attorney fees because I pulled Faith out of Bosque Farms. Although I contacted him through email, he never replied to me. I contacted my lawyer at the time. It never replied to me. So what was I supposed to do? I mean, I had to do what was in best interest for Faith and everybody else. So I ended up paying the legal fee for Christopher because his lawyer complained about that. So then we went to trial. We got a date for trial. Boy, I was furious when I left my lawyer's office. I feel like I hire all these lawyers that never took the bat for Faith and listened to anything that I have ever said. I've always told people in the past, the people that were working for Faith and myself, the kind of person that Christopher really was. Nobody listened. I mean, he's hurt my children. He's hurt my son. He's backhanded my son as well and busted his nose open when he was 3 in the car seat in San Diego. He's did that to my daughter. He's hurt Faith in the car seat, like I said. It's fallen on dead ears. It's coming up on 7 years. Nobody listens to me. Nobody knows the pain that a mother that I've went through. Nobody knows that I live in fear. It's like back and forth. It's like a game to Christopher with Faith.
I can believe that.
Christopher dangles Faith over my head as if she's like some kind of toy to be played with. She's not a toy. She's a little girl that has feelings and strong feelings. We can't help the fact that Christopher decided to move to Tennessee. He chose that for himself. I've never known of a person that lives in a whole different state and still dictates what you can and can't do to the other parent. He had a choice to live here. He was actually told to move here.
I'm sorry, y'all. I keep stopping. I just want to point something else out. And for all of you naysayers, everybody that's on Seth, okay, and it shouldn't be one or the other or this or that, but just listening to this. This is what I want to point out. Seth did move all the way from California. He may have not had a pot to piss in, okay, or a window to throw it out of, but he moved all the way from California to Tennessee to be close to his son, okay? And he got a job. He tried to better himself, and he, was trying, okay? He relocated to be with his son. He could have stayed in California, or he could have went anywhere in the, world or whatever. But he didn't. He wanted to be close to his son, and I believe he would have come to Tennessee and slept in his damn car if he had to. He stepped up, correct, Tracy, and he's still stepping up, period. So I'm sick and I am tired of hearing all the bullshit. I'm just saying. And can you imagine this little girl right here? All little girls want to be close to their dad, regardless if they get to or not, regardless of if they're in the same town, city, state, or whatever with their dad, regardless if their dads step up to the plate or not. And here he is, showing what an ass he is from the day that little girl was born.
By the judge. But he lives in Tennessee. He tells me pretty much what I can and can't do still to this day by that court order. So going back to the trial, was getting prepared. And I get the call. You get a call. And at this point in time, you know, I'm not talking to Christopher. We don't, I want to make that loud and clear. We do not have a good co-parenting relationship. We don't talk on a regular basis. I refuse to talk to Christopher because everything has to be his way. I don't entertain any of his conversations. In the past, when I used to, and I thought that a relationship between him and I, and we're learning how to co-parent and it's good, it backfired. It kicked me in my ass. Everything that I told, he used against me in court all the time. Every single thing. So I had to learn not to trust him. I've had to, I don't talk to him. So for him to say on some of his podcasts is that we have good, parenting skills, or we don't know how to talk to each other.
No, this was about 8 months ago. We're just going back over it, London lady.
So he calls me that Wednesday, and he's like, and I was like, oh great, he's calling. So I just went straight to voicemail. And then he had said 911, call me. So then I was like, well, it must be emergency, so let me call him.
Mm-hmm.
I called him and I said, what's up, Chris? And he was like,
you're welcome.
He's like, Nina, I gotta tell you something. And I was like,
mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to tell me that we're not going to go to trial, that everything is going to be done with, and we don't need to worry, and we can, we don't need to do all this stuff. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. And then he tells me, I got to be open and honest with you. And then he pauses like for 6 or 7 seconds, and I'm like, I was like, what? What do you have to tell me? So then at that point in time, he tells me that Sebastian went missing. And I was speechless. I have to say, I was speechless. And then I went into saying, well, what happened? Like, how did he go missing? Like, what happened? And he said, well, he went missing between 12:30 and 6 a.m. And I'm like, it's thinking to myself, and then, that's crazy. And I said, don't you have security cameras, Christopher? I said, you have security cameras in your house? I mean, don't you? And he paused. He didn't say anything. So then I said, what happened to your dogs? They said, don't your dogs? They said, you have those Yorkies or... And I said, every time that I call Faith, they said they're barking. He didn't say nothing. So I said, I said, are you lying to me? I said, because I mean, thinking in my head, like, are you just buying more time for this trial that's coming up? Like, you know, what other information are you going to find out that you're going to use against me, right? So then I said, I'm going to look this up. And I said, have you contacted your lawyer yet? I said, we still have a trial. I said, at 8:30 next Tuesday. And he had raised his voice at me and he said, we're not going. And I was like, don't raise your voice at me. You're not going to disrespect me like that. You're not going to raise your voice at me. So then I said, by law, I said, I have to contact my attorney. And I said, I'm going to email him as soon as I get off the phone with you. And I'm going to tell him that there's a missing child. And I had stated like, okay, well, is there like something, we could do? Can you send me like a flyer? Can you send me something? I said, I could put it on my social media and it'll take off. Like I have a lot of people that I know and a lot of my clientele. I said, we're willing to, they share a lot of my stuff. So he never sent me anything. And, he was so worried about his phone and he had said something. He's like, the fucking cops had my phone and I had to call Faith and I told him I had to fucking call my daughter. And I said, Christopher, I said, you need to calm down. I said, Faith is fine. She's with me. I'm her mother. I said, she was with her family here. I said, you don't need to worry about her. You don't need to worry about her whatsoever. And and he wanted to say more, and he repeated himself again, and he said, I need to be honest with you.
Okay. First of all, I've only got a picture from Trooper's mom that I'm fixing to show. So I got that, and I'm fixing to show that one. I didn't get one. I didn't get one from you, Sharon. You said it was urgent, so you need to resend that. And just me, I don't know. I don't know which one you're talking about from SF. Did he post one recently? Because all I have is the one from Costco, or was it BJ's or Costco? But that we all saw. So is there a new one out? And why would Fishman show a bruise on? He's for Chris and them. I'm not understanding that. And last time that I checked and was told by people very important that he altered videos and pictures. So I don't give that man the time of thought. I don't understand. Yeah, I know Mohawk. So we all thought in our opinions. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, okay, Millie. Yeah, I'm not paying attention to that then. I don't know. Well, I don't know what nobody's doing, but this is a picture this is Chris in the Navy. He was aviation's electrician mate, second class. I don't know who's seen this, who hasn't, but here you go. Oh, wait a minute. Getting my Lord, have mercy, child. What are you doing, Smiley? There y'all go. He looked young then. He looked young then. So there's that. I'll post it on my community post because you could probably see it better. But I don't know. Yeah, I even looked in my spam, Sharon. So I don't know, but I gotta get on with this, honey. Let's go.
And I was like, Christopher, I don't have time for this. I said, I just don't. I said, I gotta go. And that was it.
Thank you
the
for that also,
conversation that I had with him. I keep kind of beating myself up. Maybe I should have stayed on the phone a little bit longer. Maybe I should have let him talk. But with the experiences that I've had with Christopher in the past, I just couldn't trust him. So then I contacted my attorney the next day and I told him what was going on with Sebastian. I mean, I was hoping that, you know, and I keep hoping, and we're praying every single day for his return home. But the more and more days that had passed by, the more and more that I got, you know, like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. Like, and the things that didn't make sense to me was why Christopher and Katie aren't looking for Sebastian. I don't know, but I know if one of my babies went missing, I'd be out there searching night and day. I don't know how somebody could just sit at home.
It was took 2012.
And just wait for your baby to return. When I'd be out there looking every single second, I'd be out there by horseback. I'd be out there by a golf cart, by whatever I can get my hands on to get into the forest and look, or wherever in these neighborhoods, wherever I could possibly go. I'd still be wearing the same clothes that my son or daughter went missing in. I'd be running on adrenaline. All I could think about is the time that happened to me when they took Faith from me. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even drink water. I lost so much weight.
Oh my God.
And I knew where my baby was at. And this hits home for us because of Faith. Faith's known Sebastian pretty much half of her life, or her whole entire life. I feel for Seth. I feel for his family, the Rogers family. I'm in shock. I can't believe this has happened. You know, and Faith asks me, and she talks about Sebastian, and she asks me, Mama, are they gonna find him? And I tell her, yeah. I've talked to Seth on a parent-to-parent level. And we talked about some things that, you know, we shed some tears together, and just the pain in his voice. It hurts. But I feel like people now want to listen to me.
It's so sad.
People now want to hear my voice when I've been saying the hurtful things that were done to my children and to myself. Nobody wanted to listen to me before. And now that this baby is missing, you want to listen to me now? You want to ask me questions now? Like I just feel helpless. Like I don't know what to even think anymore. I see all these things that are being said, and the things that people say, and you know, they have every right to say that. They have every right to speculate. Just like I have. I've there's so many things that I've thought about in my head, but I mean, I've saw the things. I've sat back for a month literally and watched everything and followed every possible thing that I can, listened to what people have said, podcasts, like everything. And I needed for my voice and my story to be heard of my experiences with the Proudfoots and Christopher and Katie. Katie jumped on that bandwagon, or that Christopher and everybody else was on. Just like this past December 27th, Faith was going out to Hendersonville to see her family for the holidays. We drove her to the airport. We were all happy. We all got out. Isabella, Noah, Wayne, myself, got her out of the truck, and
Thank you, love
we
wins.
said our goodbyes. We hugged her. We kissed her. There's Katie standing there recording everything like she always does. And I hug my baby tight. I tell her I love her. And we prayed.
Oh, Hawk.
We asked God to keep Faith safe and bring her home safe to us. So as she went with Katie, I had somebody that Christopher, Katie, and his lawyer hired. His name is Michael Tinker. He served me with paper. And he tapped on my window, and I just rolled it down. And he said, "Are you so-and-so Gomez?" I said, "Yes." "Why?" He said, "Because you've been served." And the first thing I thought of was, they're going to take Faith. I got out of that truck so fast and I ran into the airport. And I was yelling through the airport that she was going to kidnap Faith. Katie and Faith were standing at the Southwest counter. And I told them, I said, "She's going to kidnap my baby." I grabbed Faith on the left side of her hand and I ran with her through the airport. And all I could think about is, I got to get back to the truck. And here comes Wayne, Noah, and Isabel running through the airport just to come and see what was happening. And oh my God, my mom, like first thing she thought of was like, and Wayne thought was like, oh my God, Nina's gonna just lay her out. I ran by, and Katie was coming right up behind me, and the guy, Michael Tinker, he stood there trying to flag me down and still trying to serve me with paperwork. In that moment, I'm just thinking about, they're going to take my baby and I'm never going to see her again. So I got to the truck. I called APD. During the holiday season, APD is at the airport. So they came within like 5 minutes. Officer Cordova had showed up and was talking about asking questions like what was happening, and asked if I had a parenting plan on hand. And I'm like, wait, I mean, when I'm just supposed to carry my parenting plan? I mean, and he said, is it his time sharing or yours? And I said, it's his. But I said, why am I being served? And still at this point, Michael Tinker was still trying to give me my paperwork and I wouldn't take it. So he got very upset, lifted up the windshield wipers and threw the paperwork right under there. At this point, my kids are crying. I'm crying hysterically. And there's Katie smiling away and recording everything. Then the officer's like, "Ms. Gomez, you have a court date coming up. And if you don't want the judge to be upset with you, you need to let her go." So we get back out of the truck. And we all do. And I get down to Faith's level. And I tell her how much I love her. And that mommy's gonna always keep fighting for you. And don't ever for 1 second think that mommy does not love you. I hug her so tight. Because I don't know if that's the last time I was going to see my baby. I handed her off to Katie. And she left. I could barely breathe when I got back in the truck. Trying to think about, what do I do now? What do I do if she doesn't come home? How am I gonna get her home? Faith stopped. And she looked at the truck driving away, and Wayne looked back, and she probably thought, is that the last time I'm gonna see my family? The whole day, my whole world was turned upside down. I thought about everything that played in my head like a movie. That day was hard. I came home and I curled up in a ball. I didn't want nobody to bother me because I'm thinking about, how am I going to have enough money to get a lawyer or anything like that? So what they did was they hired that server to come and serve me with a court hearing that I already knew about. The one that was going to take place January 2nd. So Christopher's lawyer, Christopher, Katie, they all knew what they were doing. They premeditated this again. They wanted me to go crazy. They wanted me to say hurtful things so they can go back to the courthouse and to the judge and say that I was unstable, that I'm mentally, something's wrong. And that's what they did. Christopher and Katie and his attorney asked that I get evaluated by a psychiatric doctor. Because I ran through the airport saying that she was gonna kidnap her. But in my mind, I've been traumatized by Mr. Proudfoot and his family. And I brought back trauma. And now, I mean, we're at this point where poor Sebastian is missing. And everybody, you know, the judge and, other people are telling me, don't talk about this issue in front of Faith. She's too young. She's traumatized. Christopher doesn't talk about that to her. He doesn't tell her that.
Whoops. Whoops. Okay, so I was saying, I don't know who. Justin is showing these now on his channel. I just got 2 pictures. They're the same, it looks like, obviously. And I can see bruising, especially right here. And then some is drawed on, but it doesn't matter about that. But it is a different picture because it's a different shirt. It's a blue shirt. I've tried to, and Justin's showing it now on his channel. You can see that is Sebastian. But if you'll look over, okay, I'm going to try to blow it up. Look. That's even in a different place than the one on the brown shirt he had on. Okay. Now, this just came in my mail a while ago. Hold on a minute. Somebody said it looks like just like the school picture that said had chocolate milk on the face, in my opinion. Somebody just said that, but anyway. All right, never mind that. I'm trying to look at my email. I'm going to pull this one up and see if I can see any better with this one. It looks the same. Well, that looks the same to me, but anyway, I'm going to show y'all anyway. Do you see it? Okay, so y'all are saying you can see it good. I don't like to take my interview down that I got because Lord knows, honey, if I try to pull it back up, I ain't going to tell them where I'll get. But you see it? And it's a whole different area, which I can still see a little bit right here if you look under his chin or face or whatever. But I can see more pronounced over here on the side. Anyway, I'll put these up on my I'll put it up on my community post. I'll go back and do all that and put it on my community post. But Justin is having a show now, so that's that. But yes, she could have, but did he have on the blue? I don't think he had on a blue shirt, did he? I'd have to, Lord, look at that again. That could be. So somebody's putting that out. So I don't know where Justin got it, but Justin is there now. But that's that. So yeah. You know what? Right hand. It looks more pronounced right here to me. But you can still see a little mark here, which Saturday or Sunday, whenever that picture was taken in the brown shirt, allegedly, we saw more right here. Could it be that he got that one bruise Friday? They didn't go to school Friday, Thursday night, Friday that Bruce come, Saturday, Sunday. They definitely didn't want him to go to school. You understand what I'm saying? I could see. I just don't know. I don't know.
That her
There's
stepbrother's missing.
There's not much more on here, honeys.
Not once has he said anything to her about it.
Okay, love wins.
I think Faith needs to be aware of what's happening. She did talk to Sebastian when she'd FaceTime Chris and he was at his house. She knows him. I really don't know what to say at this point. Like with Sebastian missing and the situation with Faith, it's been an ongoing situation. I was unaware that Sebastian's father was getting him. I was unaware that he was going to live with his father permanently. Finally, that was disclosed to me about a week and a half ago. I was in shock because I went like, how can you know that you're getting your child for full custody? Like, I mean, you and Katie were preparing for this. You're giving away one kid to get another one. Like, I never understood that. I still don't understand that. I was in shock when I heard that, and I also, it's sickening to think that, and to think that you would be getting a child. Why would you take Faith away from everything that she knows? Her mom, her siblings. She calls Wayne dad. She says, that's my daddy, Wayne. Her grandparents, like everything. I don't, I was lost, and now the more and more I find out, it just makes my stomach turn even more. Like, going back to this court hearing that we had, we never got an extension on the restraining order. But I believe that we should have. I did, because I don't know what Christopher nor Katie or the Proudfoots are capable of doing. It's, for all I know, they could take Faith from school. I do right now have temporary full custody of Faith till we go back to court. I mean, I talked to Seth. And I've always told him, I reach out to him and I let him know, we're here, whatever you need. Let us know how we can help you. But I remember him telling me the first night that I reached out to him, or he reached out to me, and he said,
I'm only seeing Sharon.
You can help Sebastian.
I'm not seeing that one, Sharon.
You can help me by keeping Faith there and keeping her safe. When you hear that from another parent and the situation that's going on, what do you say? Like, I'm doing the best that I can, but it's the justice system here. My biggest fear is that somebody's going to make the wrong decision for Faith and she goes out there.
I'm not seeing that one, Sharon, with that photo.
What if something like this happens to my baby? Are you going to tell me I'm sorry, Miss Gomez? I made the wrong decision? The justice system has failed a lot of kids, has failed my kids, and it's also failed Sebastian. I've been fighting this since Faith was a newborn, and I'm still fighting it. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't really think anybody really cares the decisions that they make for children, because it's not happening in their personal family. They don't know somebody. It doesn't hit home. It'll never happen to them. A lot of these people always tell me, don't show your feelings in court. Don't be emotional. So I'm just supposed to sit there without feelings, without crying, without telling people how I really feel. I feel like a lot of these also, because there wasn't enough creamer in their coffee for, a lot of these judges that make these decisions, and maybe they got angry that morning or whatever the circumstances are. They make bad choices for a lot of these children. And I won't let Faith be one of them. I will always fight for Faith, like I have been. I wish people would open up their eyes and listen to when people are saying it's not a good idea. I don't think they're stable. I don't think that they're a healthy parent. Because look at what happened to Sebastian.
Interesting.
And I feel for him because I'm a mom of a 15-year-old daughter. I hope and we pray every single day for his safe return. if there's anything that I would say to everybody is look out for one another, look out for your kids. And no relationship is worth your children's relationship at all. At all. So I believe I had to tell my story so it can get out there, because it still haunts me to this day. It haunts my children. It haunts our everyday life. We don't live a normal life. We're always living on the edge because of Mr. Proudfoot. I mean, his mother wanted to pay off the daycare, buy them some new playground equipment, just so Christopher and his mom can stay there longer to see Faith. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, my mind is all foggy right now because thinking about everything that I've went through, I'm sure I left some bits and pieces out. But I know what I've experienced, and it wasn't a good experience at all whatsoever. So that's our story.
Wow. Wow. And excuse me. And what a story that is. What a story that is. I cannot even imagine that. Living that day in and day out for the rest of my life. She will never get over that, I don't think. It's a nightmare for her and her children. I feel like Chris ruined their life forever. It's something that's just itched in their brain. I was just sent something, and I don't know if this come out of a group. I don't know, but I find it interesting. Kathy, I guess, within the last 24 hours, I would assume, I guess, or maybe it's old and they just screenshot it and sent it to me. Well, or maybe it's something that was just passed. I don't know. But the most important part was there was a conversation. So somebody named Melissa Winters said, Kathy Bauer Socks, I said a prayer for everybody. I hope everybody is still cooperating with Ellie. I can see why everybody loves Sebastian. Maybe you get to hug him again one day, ? Be strong and keep the fire burning. The love for him is massive and growing. And then this Ralph guy said, Kathy Bauer Socks, where were your hearts for Sebastian when 5 CPS reports were allegedly filed about him in 2 years? So then Kathy responds to this Ralph guy and says, Ralph, I know exactly where my heart was and is. Since you seem to know about 5 CPS reports, feel free to enlighten me until you have personal knowledge and can provide me, in all caps, proof, not just something that a lying, money hungry, poor excuse for a parent, she's talking about Seth, says in order to grift money. This, of course, is my opinion based on knowledge and personal interaction with this person. When the actual truth comes out, I will hope that you will be a person who acknowledges your implied error. I would expect at least that much from someone who uses the USMC emblem as a profile pic. Wonder if USMC, I'm just saying, never mind. But listen, they play too many games around here. That is interesting, though. Listen. Kathy, I acknowledge my wrongdoings and mistakes. It didn't pop in my head till just now, honey. I would love to have a conversation with you. I would. Hey, it made me think, Kathy. People. Did Kathy even know half of this stuff about Katie and her side of the family and all this kind of stuff until this all happened? Was most of this a big secret to Kathy? Is that why it was such a, some things was, was mom let in on everything? I just wonder. I do wonder that. I really do. Well, that's one thing. But I don't think mom, hey Pinky, you're the big dog, huh? You're the big one. That's my mom's dog, the big one. I don't know. I just think too much going on that she might have not have known about. But she is part of trying to fix. But Kathy, I got a question for you. Hold on a minute. I got a question for you. Kathy said in this, I wanted to stop, but I wanted to go ahead and read it for you. So I did. Kathy said to this guy, she said, Ralph, I know exactly where my heart was and is, since you seem to know about 5 CPS reports. I bet Kathy didn't even know about 5 CPS reports, to be honest with you. Oh, my mommy can't know about that. Lord, no. And these neighbors and these teachers. That ain't something you just go around telling everybody, in my opinion. I doubt Christopher, Mr. Chris, told anybody about that shit. So maybe Kathy didn't know about that. But anyway, Kathy says, since you seem to know about these 5 CPS reports, feel free to enlighten me. Well, it's allegedly, Kathy, that there is 5 CPS reports. One because Sebastian is missing, and the other 4 was because these teachers and mandated reporters reported what Sebastian said. And you heard your own son on my panel, right? And then you heard the lies that followed. He admitted to one, the belt thing, and then on Nancy Grace said that was years and years and years ago. Your son is a pathological liar, honey. Anyway. And then she said, until you have proof and knowledge you can provide me, not just something that a lying, money-hungry, poor excuse for a parent says in order to grift money. Why do y'all always seem to be hung up on what the other parent is doing? I'm just wondering, because y'all are money bags, honey. Do y'all want his money too and everything? Why are y'all so mad? Why are you mad? Anyway. This, of course, is my opinion based on knowledge and personal interaction with this person. You say he's a grifter. This is where I wanted to stop at, and this is where I will leave it. I'm going to lie this at everybody's feet. That's Chris's mother, Reba. That's Kathy Bowersox, okay? This is the same lady that allegedly was in the house on Stafford Court where Sebastian allegedly came up missing that day and allegedly was talking to her son, Mr. Chris, when he got there. Now, open y'all's ears. Worrying about, would he buy her some jewelry, allegedly? This is while they were out doing search parties early that morning for Sebastian. So who's the grifting, money-hungry bitch? If I'm wrong, Kathy, I'll acknowledge it. In the meantime, Miss Proudfoot, you're welcome here anytime. There's over a $200,000 reward. Thank you, Dog the Bounty Hunter and FBI, since nobody else can come out and say that other than the bio father. Keep up the good work. And if y'all have any information, please call 833-TELL-DOG, 1-800-TBI-FIND. You can call 615-451-3838. Call 911 or anybody you want. Call the FBI. Just call. Y'all have a great night. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is still missing and he needs to be found. Bye. Thank you for joining.